In this video, we're predicting the top 10 in Hawthorns' best and fairest race. Let's get into it. G'day guys, ET back with another video. Now, top 10 in the best and fairest for the Hawks. Try and predict it. Don't try and predict it. It is literally impossible. I'm not joking. I have been over this list 5 to 10 times over the last couple of weeks. I put this video off a fair while longer than I wanted to because this top 10 is genuinely impossible to predict. I think the majority of people will have the top 3 pretty much in interchangeable order, and then 4 through to about 9 are also interchangeable. Just quickly before we get into the video, something very exciting for the channel happened yesterday. Hawthorn Football Club, the official Hawthorn Football Club YouTube channel, commented on my last video, which was the game about the Giants Elimination Final. As you can see on the screen, they commented, "Babe, wake up, ET footy just dropped," which is really exciting. Obviously, I'm not working with them or getting paid by them or anything, but it's still really exciting knowing that the Hawks are tuning into the content and they seem to enjoy it. I'm assuming they do, otherwise they probably wouldn't have commented something like that. So yeah, Hawthorn, if you're watching, yeah, I love making these videos. If you need someone extra in the media team, let me know. I'm happy to start tomorrow if you need me. I'm going to try to keep this short and sharp so the video doesn't go too long, so let's get into it. Kicking off the list at 10, we have Josh Ward. In year 4, Ward averaged 20.7 touches, 5.5 scoring involvements, 3.5 marks and tackles each. He had 20 plus 15 times and 3 games of 25 plus this season. Easily a career best year, super consistent and reliable pretty much all year, especially after Will Day went down, and yeah, definitely deserves a top 10 in this year's best and fairest. At 9, we have Jack Ginnivan. In his second year at the club, he averaged 19 disposals, 25 goals, 6 score involvements a game, and since round 6, no one talks about this, but since round 6, he's averaged almost 21 touches and has kicked 23 goals in that time. This season, Jack transformed his game from a forward pocket to more of a high half forward. After a slow start to the year due to a foot injury, he unfortunately got dropped to Box Hill, but after he came back, he filled almost that Dylan Moore role that Moore played last year, but after Will Day went down, Moore went to the midfield, and Jack Ginnivan filled Dylan Moore's role and played it perfectly. And if he kept that form from round 6 to the end of the season up for the entire year, for the first 6 or so games, he would be an All-Australian squad of contention, so congrats Jack, he had a fantastic season. Now, this is where the list gets super close. If you had this guy at 3rd or 4th on your list, I wouldn't be knocking you at all, and that is Blake Hardwick, also known as the most underrated man in the AFL. This season, Hardwick started up forward, but unfortunately the back line sort of lacked a bit of consistency and composure, especially at the start of the year, so he got moved down back unfortunately, even though he had a really good start as a forward. His averages were 14.5 disposals, 4.5 marks, 80% efficiency, which is elite, and for a backman, 3.2 score involvements. Yes, they're probably inflated due to the time he spent up forward at the start of the year, but still, that's very good. He also takes the opposition's best small forward every single week and does the job 90% of the time. I think the only game this season, off the top of my head, that I can remember he didn't dominate was against Isaac Rankin in Adelaide, but he's one of the best players in the game at his best, so not knocking him at all. I know the feeling of being underappreciated as a footballer. I too, my whole junior career, played down in the back pocket and yeah, never got the credit I deserved. Now, with Blake Hardwick, he needs a nickname or he needs something so the average AFL fan can identify him or just notice him a little bit more. I think something like Off Night, something like that. There's a guy in the NBA whose name is Off Night. That's because every time he's playing defense on you, you're going to have an off night. So I think from now on, Blake Hardwick, I'm going to call him Off Night. This is where it gets really, really controversial. At number 7, I have Dylan Moore. Bit of a down season from his All-Australian campaign last season, but still extremely solid and one of our best players. Averages of 19.5 disposals, 21 goals in 23 games, and he's pretty much a 50-50 midfielder at this point with Will Day going down. 5.5 score involvements. He had 20 plus 9 times, 25 plus 3 times, and 30 plus twice, including that game against Melbourne, the same game that Gunston had 7 goals. When he's really on, when he's playing on the ball, he is one of the best players in the comp. And I think if he can stand up and play more midfield minutes next season with Will Day and potentially with another A-grade midfielder we pick up in free agency, Hawthorns midfield is going to be one of the best in the comp. Next up, if you had this guy in your top 3, I wouldn't argue whatsoever. That's Jarman Impey. At the end of the season, he averaged 19.5 disposals, 4.2 score involvements, and since round 6, he's averaged 22.2 disposals. Also, 12 games with 20 plus and 5 games with 25 plus off halfback, which is extremely good. Now, the only reason I do not have Impey higher, because in the second half or even the last 2/3 of the season, he was definitely top 3 to 5. But the reason I don't have him even higher is because the first 5-6 games of the season, he was genuinely one of our worst players. I'm not knocking him, but go back and have a look. He only averaged about 10-11 disposals in the first half of the season, and I honestly thought he was done. But yeah, definitely bounced back and redeemed himself, like I said, since round 6, 22 disposals, which is elite for a halfback flanker. But like I said, the only reason he's not high is because the next 5 guys are more consistent, simply for the fact that Impey's definitely not going to poll votes for about 6 or 7 games this season. Now, the honourable mentions, or just 11 to 15, I think 11 is Barris and the rest are in any order, but he just had his best quarter individually of the season against the Giants. In that second quarter, he was rock solid and easily our best player. Next is Marbior Chol. Very underrated season. He sort of stepped up when the other key forwards were lacking with injury, but in the elimination final against the Giants, like I said about Barris, he had a super game. Nothing big stats-wise, but his pressure on the ball when he was in the ruck and the last quarter kicked 2 goals and sealed the game. So yeah, Chol had a really good year. Next is Harry Morrison. Easily a career best year from Harry. Super consistent all season. I don't think he had too many bad games. He only had a couple bad games. Unfortunately, he had a bit of a sour end with that quad injury, but hopefully he will be back for the semi-final against Adelaide. Next, Massimo D'Ambrosio. Definitely more of a down year, but if you make the All-Australian squad, your name's going to be on the scouting report for other teams, so it makes sense. But yeah, probably the same as Morrison this season. Maybe slightly better than Morrison, but yeah, still had a pretty solid year, just not to his usual standards. And lastly, I have to put this guy in, Josh Weddle. Before he went down with injury, he was definitely top 5 to 6 in the best and fairest. As we saw on the weekend against the Giants, that third quarter, he had 10 touches in the first 10 minutes. If he keeps up his form from this season for a whole season next year, he's definitely going to be in the All-Australian squad contention. So yeah, Weddle had a great year before his injury. Now, the meat and potatoes, the top 5. Now, I'm going to regret this because number 5 and 6, I'll probably swap if I have my time again. But Lloyd Meek cemented himself as a top 5 ruckman in the game. 13.3 disposals, 5 score involvements, 3rd in the league in hitouts, and 5th in the entire league for hitouts to advantage. Look, I'll be honest, I feel like Impey had a better season, but those first 5 to 6 games, he just wasn't there. But Lloyd has been consistent through the entire year. That's why I put him in this spot. He's one of our most consistent players and is super reliable. When he stepped up and when he really got going, that's when the whole team sort of elevated and took that next step. Only missed 1 game this season, and yeah, even if he doesn't get too many bests on, he will definitely be in the votes for most games. So yeah, well done, Lloyd. Now, the unlucky bloke who's just missing out on the top 3, and people are going to forget how good this guy has been, especially at the start of the year, that is Jai Newcombe. The engine to this midfield and the most valuable player without Will Day. He had a bit of a down year compared to his best and fairest winning season last season, but I think that's because teams figured out that if you tag Newcombe without Will Day, then you're probably going to have a decent chance against the Hawks. Only 22.5 disposals, but if you take away those games where he clearly had a niggle and was subbed out early, he's looking at more of a 24.5 disposal season, which is still pretty good. 6 score involvements a game, 5 tackles, 6 clearances. People are going to forget his start of the season was very good. He had a 27 plus 8 times this season, and they were 5 out of his first 10 games. So yeah, he had a very solid start to the year, and also 20 plus 15 times this year. Like I said, the engine to this midfield, especially without Will Day for most of the season, and unfortunately, the only reason he misses out on top 2 or top 3 is simply because he was a little bit less inconsistent than the other guys. The next 3 guys were consistent the whole year. I think they only had 1 or 2 bad games each, like genuinely. So yeah, now let's get into the top 3. At number 3, now I'll be honest, I didn't think this guy was going to make the All-Australian squad, but he did, and that is Josh Battle. I'm so glad he's getting the recognition he deserves because he is really one of the most underrated players in the AFL. Most of the Hawthorns defenders are, let's be honest. This season, JB averaged 18.5 disposals, which is elite for a key defender. He had 20 disposals or more 7 times. He had 25 plus 3 times, including a 33 disposal game and a 29 disposal game. Since round 7, he averaged 19.2 disposals. I know that's not much more than his overall season average, but that's sort of after Hawthorn went through the growing pains of having the extra 2 key defenders down back. And yeah, after they sort of settled in, JB, TB, and pretty much all the defenders and backmen sort of found their groove and played fantastic throughout the year. One of the best backlines overall in the entire competition. Now, runners-up, and this guy absolutely deserves this, no doubt in my mind, and that is Jack Unkston, also known as Jack Gunston. 12.5 disposals a game, 3.1 goals per game over a 20-game sample size. That is ridiculous for a 33-year-old, absolutely ridiculous. Also, 7.6 score involvements per game. He had 7 plus twice. He had a 6-goal haul once. He kicked 4 goals 3 times, and he kicked 3 goals 6 times. He kicked 2 goals or more 17 times. He had 2 games of 1 goal, and out of his 20 games, he only had 1 goals game for the entire season. So, yeah, if you kick multiple goals in 17 out of your 20 games, you're doing something right. All Australian for a reason. Absolutely deserved it, and yeah, definitely earned himself another contract, and can't wait to see Gunston for another season in 2026. Congrats, mate. Unreal career best year at 33. You don't say that too often. It's special. And the winner of the 2025 Hawthorn Best and Fairest, our most consistent player for the entire year, should have been in the All-Australian team. And the reason he wins it, it's going to be close, but he was just more consistent than everyone else the entire year, and that is Karl Amon. If Amon isn't in your top 3, you don't know footy. 24.2 touches, almost 600 metres gained per game, 5 score involvements. He had 30 plus 4 times off halfback, which is elite. He had 28 plus 7 times as well, 25 plus 9 times, and he had 20 disposals or more 18 times out of his 23 appearances. His lowest numbers of the season was 17 touches. He had that twice. He only had under 25 times. Ridiculous numbers. He should have had 35 and a goal in the game against Brisbane in the last round. If he had 2 more seconds before the 3/4 time siren, he would have had 35 and a goal. But yeah, the most consistent player all year, hasn't put a foot wrong. I think he's clearly our best and fairest. A lot of people disagree, but yeah, he's just been way more consistent than everyone else. And yeah, career best year at 30, hasn't put a foot wrong. Not much more I can say. Karl Amon, congratulations, mate. You definitely earned it. Now here's a look at the entire list. On the podium, Amon, Gunston and Battle. Just missing out Newcomb, Meek, Impey, and then filling out the rest is Moore, Hardwick, Ginnivan, and lastly Ward. I'm fully aware that this has zero chance of being 100% accurate, so I'm just going to say it one more time. 1 through 3, all interchangeable. I'll say Newcomb's a solid 4, Meek and Impey are sort of interchangeable at 5 and 6. Moore, Hardwick and Ginnivan at 7, 8 and 9 could all be swapped around, and I think Ward and Barris at 11 could also be interchangeable. But other than that, I feel like if I get most of those right in those sort of sections, then I'll be happy with my list. Now comment down below, let me know what you think of the list and let me know your list. I'm very curious to see what other Hawks fans have to say. And if you really enjoy the content, go spam Hawthorn FC on their social media accounts and get me on the media team, because I would love to join. And yes, thank you for watching.